Hello, I'm Joyce Antila Phipps. I'm the pastor here at Old First Church. This church was originally established in 1688. The building that we're standing in right now is actually the third building on the site. The second building is actually the building that we need to think about in terms of the American Revolution, because that building was the building which was used as a hospital for the retreating British troops and primarily Hessians from the Battle of Monmouth on their way to Sandy Hook. They came up King's Highway, which is actually in front of this building. At that point, the pastor was the Reverend Abel Morgan, and Abel Morgan was a patriot, and most of the members of this church were patriots. This church was a divided church. About 3/4 of the people here supported the revolutionary cause, but 1/4 of the people did not. But based on a vote by the congregation, there was a resolution passed supporting the patriot cause. So we consider this church a patriot church. So what happened at the Battle of Monmouth, or after the Battle of Monmouth, was the retreating British troops and the Hessians came in, and they pretty much tore this church apart, using it as a hospital for the wounded. Now, why was it that the retreating troops used this building? Because across the street is another, indeed, historic church, but that was the Church of England, and they were not going to rip apart the King's Church because they were obviously British and they were supporting the Church of England at that point. The ones that didn't make it were actually deposited into a mass grave, which is actually below our regular cemetery, which happens to contain the bodies of quite a few of the Revolutionary War heroes. We're now here in the historic cemetery where several people who were part of this church and who were part of the Patriot cause are buried. The most famous one, or the most notorious one, depending on your point of view, is Joseph Murray over here, and where the little flag is. Joseph Murray was shot in the back by the British because he had been seen as a horse thief. These graves, these tombstones, date pretty much from the early 18th century all the way into the modern age. This particular cemetery stopped accepting what were called full-body burials back around 1960. What you also can see from this angle is the foundation of the building that was put up in 1740. That foundation is a stone foundation, and it was put together with what was called lime cement. So if you look at the stone foundation, you'll see that was the site of that was the end of the 1740 building. And then you can see the additions that were done after, well after the Revolution, because those have a brick foundation. We're now actually standing on the site of the mass grave. We don't really know how many bodies were interred here. We just know that after Hurricane Sandy, when we had applied for money to restore some of the gravestones, that the people who did this did a whole exploration of this area and said there were hundreds and hundreds of metal buttons, and it was really clear that this area had been a mass grave. Those were the people who obviously didn't make it after the Battle of Monmouth, and who were literally just interred here as the rest of the crew went back out toward Sandy Hook. It is our desire as a church to be able to have some kind of a memorial, even though these people were Hessians and they were on the other side, no question, but to honor at least their sacrifice. And we think that this is a really important thing to do.